Now, people have often speculated about how and why people that are in a Congress making congressional salary, which ain't bad, considering all the benefits, accumulate such massive, massive wealth. Now, part of it is that insider trading among members of Congress is perfectly legal. So if you hear about something that might benefit a company or hurt a company, you can buy a stock or short that stock. And Nancy Pelosi has benefited richly from that over the years. By the way, Donald Trump did not turn over his tax returns until somebody unlawfully stole them and illegally disclosed them. Do you know who has not turned over her tax returns? Nancy Pelosi. And when she was asked about that, she said, "I'm not the president." No, you're just Speaker of the House and in line, not too far back for president, but I guess that's different. There's an article from American Liberty News, very extensive, called "The NGO Laundromat: How Federal Funds Flow to Politicians' Relatives." This is seldom discussed. NGOs, or non-governmental organizations, receive federal grants and funding from major Democratic donors. Now, campaign finance laws stop members from directly pocketing this kind of money, but there are no restrictions to their spouses, their children, or their relatives. This explains why so many lawmakers accumulate significant wealth while drawing only a congressional salary. They set up these NGOs and endow their spouses with board memberships, well-paid executive positions for their children, and ensure a steady stream of consulting fees for their extended relatives. Consider the case of Representative Angie Craig, Democrat from Minnesota, whose spouse, Cheryl Green, serves as director at the Human Rights Campaign. That's an NGO, left-wing, funded by Democratic mega-donors. Representative Stephen Lynch, Democrat, Massachusetts. Wife Margaret Lynch directs the South Boston Community Health Center, an organization that thrives on a steady stream of government grants. Then we've got Representative Don Bayer, Democrat from Virginia, whose spouse Megan sits on the board of the Global Women's Leadership Initiative, another NGO that gets public and private liberal money. Hakeem Jeffries is the Democrat House leader. His wife is employed by Union 1199 SEIU Benefit Fund, a position that comes with a great deal of financial security and influence. Representative Jayapal, Democrat, Washington, married to Steve Williamson, Executive Director of Essential Workers for Democracy, an NGO whose very existence depends on the policies that his wife champions in Congress. Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat, Colorado, married to Susan Daggett, who sits on the board of Smart Growth America, an organization that benefits from federal housing and urban development policies. Senator Mark Warner's wife, Lisa Collins, co-founded the Collins-Warner Foundation, a philanthropic entity operating in the same circles as major Democrat donors. The aforementioned Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, who complained about DOGE, has a wife, Sandra Whitehouse, who serves as a senior policy advisor to the Ocean Conservancy, an NGO that benefits from Democrat climate policies. The article says, quote, "What makes this arrangement particularly egregious is its insulation from campaign finance laws and lobbying restrictions. Were a foreign government, a corporation, or a billionaire donor to hand a suitcase of cash to a sitting member of Congress, that would be a crime. But if that same money is routed through an NGO that hires the politician's spouse as executive director or their child as a board member, perfectly legal." Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has been scrutinizing the financial relationship between members of Congress and these NGOs. Quote, early findings suggest improper payments, wasteful grants, outright favoritism. NGOs receiving federal dollars often function less as a charitable enterprise and more as a conduit for political patronage. Musk team has already uncovered numerous cases where grants appear to have been strategically distributed to organizations closely linked to influential politicians. And consider the implications of this. When lawmakers have personal financial interests tied to the continuing operation and funding of NGOs, their lawmaking decisions are inherently compromised. Federal spending is no longer dictated by the needs of the public, but by the imperative to sustain these lucrative arrangements. Same politicians who whine about dark money are absent about these taxpayer dollars flowing through NGOs and into their family coffers. The article then offers some suggestions as to what we can do. There must be a prohibition on immediate family members of sitting members of Congress holding executive or board positions in NGOs that receive federal funding. If an organization is funded by taxpayers, it should not double as a slush fund for political dynasties. Second, there should be mandatory disclosure of financial ties between lawmakers and these NGOs. Right now, there aren't. Congress should consider a cooling off period that prevents close relatives of elected officials from accepting NGO money for a set number of years. Such measures are already common in the private sector to prevent conflicts of interest, yet Congress has exempted itself from similar oversight. The article ends with this, quote, the question is not whether the system is corrupt, but why it has been allowed to persist for so long. With Elon Musk's Doge team beginning to peel back the layers of this sophisticated web, there finally may be a reckoning. The American taxpayer should not be subsidizing the private wealth of political families. It's time to expose and dismantle this congressional cash carousel once and for all, close quote. By the way, a lot of the USAID money has gone to NGOs. It's an absolute, total, complete outrage.